Good day everyone, this is Cyrus Malaxi, a 4th year B.Ed student of Norsushaten campus, and welcome back for a new insightful video. Today I am going to share something really important for us future teachers, the instructional cycle. So stay with me as we explore how this works, along with some principles and strategies that will make our future classrooms exciting and meaningful. The instructional cycle is a structured approach that ensures teaching isn't just about talking, but about creating real learning. And it moves in stages: planning, delivering, assessing, and reflecting. But for this cycle to work, we follow some guiding principles in teaching methods. Let's make this interactive. Think about this as I say them and ask yourself if you've seen them in action. So here are the guiding principles in the selection and use of teaching methods. So first is learning is an active process. So students learn best when they actively participate in their own learning. So instead of passively receiving information, they should be engaged in activities such as discussions, problem solvings, experiments, and collaborative tasks. So for example, when students solve a math problem on their own or participate in a role play, they are actively constructing knowledge. Second, the more the senses that are involved, the more and the better the learning. So effective learning happens when more senses are involved. So when students see, hear, and touch, their brains remember more. So this is why teachers should use a variety of methods like visuals, audio materials, hands-on activities, and real-life demonstration. For instance, in teaching a science concept, showing a video allowing students to conduct an experiment and letting them record observations make the learning more lasting. The third one is a non-threatening atmosphere enhances learning. So the students learn better in an environment where they feel safe, accepted, and free from fear of punishment or embarrassment. So for example, in an English class, instead of criticizing grammar mistakes harshly, the teacher encourages students through saying, "Good try, let's improve it together." So through this, it motivates shy learners to participate more. The fourth one is emotion has the power to increase retention and learning. So emotions make lessons unforgettable. The fifth one is good teaching goes beyond recall of information. So learning is not just about memorizing facts. Yes, recall is important, but good teaching pushes students to think deeper, apply what they have learned, and even create something new. Sixth is learning is meaningful when it is connected to students' everyday life. So students learn best when lessons are tied to real life situations, right? So if they can relate the lessons to their own experiences, it becomes more useful and memorable. And the last one is an integrated teaching approach is far more effective than teaching as isolated bits of information. So learning becomes stronger when subjects are connected instead of taught separately. So integration helps students see the bigger picture. For example, if the topic is the environment, in science, students study pollution. In English, they write essays. In math, they graph the number of trees. And in art, they create posters. So by combining different subjects, students don't just learn pieces of information. They understand the whole concept in a richer way. So in the Philippines, our education system has embraced standards and competency-based teaching. DepEd promotes this through the K-12 curriculum guide, and TESDA was actually ahead in using competency standards-based teaching and assessment. And CHED requires higher education institution to follow outcome-based education as stated in CHED Memorandum No. 46 Series of 2012. Now, what does this mean in practice? So we shift from focusing on what teachers teach to what students can actually do. So this is called outcome-based teaching and learning, or OBTL. For example, instead of saying, "I will teach the parts of speech," the outcome would be, students will be able to construct meaningful sentences using correct parts of speech. So see the difference? It's not about what I give, it's about what you can do after. In outcome-based teaching and learning, everything we do as teachers revolves around three important elements: intended learning outcomes, teaching and learning activities, and assessment tasks. Now let's break them down one by one. First is intended learning outcomes or ILOS. So these are the clear statements of what we expect our students to learn and achieve by the end of a lesson or unit. Think of them as the destination on a map. For example, if my ILO is students will be able to identify and explain the parts of speech, then every activity and assessment I prepare should be directed toward that goal. Without clear intended learning outcomes, our teaching becomes directionless. Second is teaching and learning activities or TLAs. Now, these are the actual experiences we design to help our students reach those outcomes. They can be interactive discussions, group work, role-playing, experiments, or even games. The key is alignment. The activity should really support the ILOS. And finally, assessment task or ATS. These are the ways we measure whether our students have achieved the learning outcomes. They can be traditional like quizzes and exams, or performance-based like projects, essays, or presentations. So the important part here is that assessments are not just for grading. They should provide feedback for both students and teachers. So when you put these three together, intended learning outcomes, teaching learning activities, and assessment tasks, you get a well-connected learning experience. The outcomes guide the activities and the activities prepare students for the assessment. So this way, everything in our teaching is aligned and meaningful. And the most importantly, it ensures that learning happens. So there is a cycle, right?
Another thing that teachers must master is asking the right questions. And here are the types of questions that teachers ask: the factual questions, the divergent questions, and affective questions.
So to wrap it up, the instructional cycle is all about planning, teaching, assessing, and reflecting, making sure learning really happens. The guiding principles remind us that learning should be active, connected, and meaningful. And with OBTL, we focus on clear outcomes, aligned activities, and fair assessments. As future teachers, our goal is not just to pass on information, but to create experiences that inspire and prepare students for life. Once again, this is Cyrus Malaxi, and thank you so much for watching.